This is Nurturing the Garden by Corinne M. Baldwin Barbarich, a student at Bowling Green University. The following information is the link to the presentation via a tiny URL. Once the YouTube video is posted, I will go ahead and update that slide to contain the link to the YouTube video. We will cover every aspect of nurturing the garden today, including some final thoughts and reference and tools for future use. The glory of garden, hands in the dirt, head in the sun, heart with nature. To nurture a garden is to feed not just the body, but the soul. Alfred Austin. This particular quote really speaks to me in the nurturing of the garden method. It says that you need to get into action, you need to have some passion, and ultimately that will make a passionate soul out of you. Nurturing the garden was really developed around this concept of quarter life crisis. This is a common terminology that is used within our young professionals today, especially the millennial generation. It is a period of intense soul searching and stress occurred in your mid-20s to early 30s. It stems from having an epiphany that one does not have any goals or the goals are unrealistic. For me, this quarter life crisis happened much later in my 30s, and now in my almost 40s, I have feelings of regret and lost time. I wish organizations that I would have worked for would have adapted this approach in helping me reach my passion earlier in life. Similar to actually nurturing a garden, each seed needs the right environment, resources, and care in order to be successful in what they're meant to do, whether that's to produce flowers, fruit, or vegetable. This production of resources then in turn satisfies the need of many. Nurturing the garden is rooted in a combination of an appreciative inquiry and employment engagement embedded in a traditional rotation program within an organization. Nurturing the garden was created around a 3-month or semester duration, but intended to be repeated for the entire academic calendar year. This method incorporates a series of interviews between an intern or young professional and a designated mentor within the organization. These interviews will drive where the intern or young professional proceeds in their training within the organization. The purpose of nurturing the garden is to help an intern or young professional uncover their passion sooner and connect this passion with a particular role or department within an organization. Nurturing the garden allows for leaders within the organization to mentor these young professionals and assist with the whole system change. In turn, the organization benefits by having a group of young professionals who are more well-rounded candidates for future positions that have a solid understanding of where within the organization they feel most compelled to work. Rotation programs such as this have been shown to increase the retention rate of employees. There are many case studies done to show that positive statistics around the success of job rotation programs. But incorporating this type of program around the success of an individual, not the organization, not just the organization, is key. Tell me and I will forget. Teach me and I will remember. Involve me and I will learn, by Benjamin Franklin. Nurturing the garden being used within an organization that has a willingness to create a learning environment and embrace young professionals. It is best if the organization does have a growth plan, forward thinking 1 year in advance. Nurturing the garden begins with the organization engaging universities and their students in order to recruit young professionals into the organization's intern rotation program. The organization will then begin the interview process between the young professional and an HR representative. Appreciative inquiry type questions will be used during this interview to determine if the young professional and the organization are a good fit. Once the interns or young professionals are in agreement, the HR representative will assign a mentor that best suits the needs of the intern. Again, appreciative inquiry type interviews will take place between that mentor and the young professional. This interview will determine where the young professional and the mentor feel their journey should begin. After all interviews with the mentors and the interns are completed, the mentors will converge to determine all first assignments. Mentors and interns will hold bi-weekly meetings to ensure the intended learning outcomes are being met. In addition to the mentors and interns meetings, the mentors will have a quick touch base with their current department managers for additional feedback. After 1 month, the mentors will reconvene to determine the next assignments for the interns. During this time, the interns will create a report out of their learnings, observations regarding the department, as well as their own reflections on the experiences. This process will repeat for 2 additional months. At the end of the 3-month period or semester, the organization can extend an invitation for the intern to return for an additional semester. Technology plays a part in the external environment and affects the conditions for success of this method. Technology became used in many ways during the nurturing the garden process. Some examples are an organization can use their websites or the websites of universities to post positions. Online tools such as Talent Roadmap can be used to record and track information shared during the mentor and intern meetings. And while the meetings are preferred to be face-to-face during this process, conference tools such as Skype, Zoom, and Uber Conference can be a great resource for meetings when leadership schedules call for them to be out of the office. While the case studies listed utilize a large number of participants, I believe that nurturing the garden can be applied within organizations with various number of employees and over various time frames. Again, the minimum requirements for this particular program is 3 months. Participants can do the entire academic calendar year and again for the following year, depending on where they stand in their academic career. In this particular method, it would be best advised if there were sponsors from the human resource, talent acquisition, and C-suite leadership. In preparation for Nurturing the Garden program launch, it is important to gain buy-in from the leadership team. This method of whole system change does work best when there are leadership members in all departments willing to participate as mentors. Providing guidance and training to leaders on how to mentor young professors should be considered. This training should emphasize their strengths in their different leadership styles and encourage individualism, but provide the necessary tools to complete the program. Choosing a coaching tool will be important prior to launching this method. A tool like Talent Roadmap, as suggested before, will need to be customized to contain very specific appreciative inquiry questions needed during each phase. This will also be used to record the intern's feedback and thoughts around their learnings and feelings while in the program. Nurturing the garden does require the entire organization to be open-minded and accepting of this method. While each individual within the organization may or may not participate, it is important that they support those who are in the program in a positive manner. Nurturing the garden requires all of the participants to be open to learning. Participants must be able to appreciate successes along with failures. It is imperative that participants maintain open dialogue during this process, and it is also important that they allow for time for reflection. Nurturing the garden is based on a blend of 2 methods, appreciative inquiry and employee engagement, to ultimately connect an individual to an organization to their passion. There are also 2 theoretical foundational concepts, Heisenberg two-factor theory and Hackman and Oldman's job characteristic and high performance work system theory. Both of these are referenced at the end of this presentation. In order to sustain the results, it is important that the organization understands that there's a minimum of 3 months required to completing this program, with a maximum up to a year or 2, depending on the academic standards of the intern. The organization must champion, support, and stay engaged throughout the whole duration of the program. For this method to be successful, the organization has to maintain a learning environment. It is essential that the organization be mindful and understanding of what the young professionals are looking for within the organization. It is also important that the organization is able to fill full-time positions with the participants when it is applicable. Nurturing the garden does create a whole system change. While the method itself is focused on assisting young professionals in discovering their passion, the intent is that it will be within the organization. Once a young professional completes the program and is hired in as a full-time associate, the young professional employee engagement is extremely high. As an organization does multiple rounds of nurturing the garden, the higher the overall employee engagement becomes. Nurturing the garden stems from my own experience of developing and learning within small, privately owned companies to large, publicly traded organizations. I felt I was hired for these roles based on my past experience and not necessarily my potential or in order to fulfill my passion. My hope is that organizations use Nurturing the Garden as a tool to help interns or young professionals find their place in the world, where the individual can thrive and the organization can benefit from their dedication. These are some additional references and tools around appreciative inquiry, employee engagement, and the two theoretical bases for this theory. Please feel free to use any of these resources and provide me with any additionals that you find. I just want to thank you for your time today, and I hope that Nurturing the Garden creates a successful learning environment for your organization.